Audience focus. Service workers, waiters, waitresses, cooks, people who spend time in diners and late night spots. Goal of this section: build a cozy but slightly offbeat environment with familiar late night characters so the listener feels comfortable but aware that odd people come through at strange hours. Summary: a new narrator, a young woman or man working the graveyard shift at a 24-hour diner off the highway, explains the routine. Truckers, drunk students, night shift nurses, and lonely insomniacs all drift in at odd hours. The section paints a vivid picture of buzzing neon lights, sticky counters, old coffee pots, and the cook who likes to joke that nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m. We meet a few regulars, some kind and some quietly unsettling, but overall, the diner feels like a small, safe island in the middle of the night. The narrator grows used to filling coffee cups and listening to half-coherent stories from travelers. Toward the end of the section, they mention that one table by the window has a reputation among coworkers for attracting the weird ones, but they dismiss it as superstition. Flow and connection. This section introduces a different type of late-night job while keeping the same theme of quiet, isolated work after dark. It creates a comfortable base so that later disruptions will feel sharper by contrast. Audience focus. People who have dealt with strange customers, anyone who feels uneasy when watched in public spaces, and service industry workers. Goal of this section: introduce a specific, unsettling customer whose behavior is wrong in subtle ways. The listener should feel watched and start to question his motives. Summary: one night, a man comes in alone and sits at the window table, staring out into the parking lot and occasionally glancing at the narrator. He doesn't look clearly dangerous, just exhausted and out of place, wearing clean but slightly mismatched clothes. When offered a menu, he refuses politely, saying he is waiting for someone, but no one shows up. Hours pass and he still hasn't ordered anything. He just sits there, occasionally turning his head toward the road. The few other customers notice him but keep to themselves. The narrator debates asking him to leave for not ordering, but something about his expression makes them hesitate. Just before closing time for a short cleaning break, they find he has vanished, even though they never heard the bell chime on the door. The only thing left is a napkin with shaky writing saying, "I'll make sure they don't come inside." Flow and connection. This section narrows the focus from general diner life to one strange individual, turning the diner's window table into a point of tension. It plants questions about who they are and what he was watching for. Audience focus. Listeners who fear power outages, empty parking lots, and unpredictable strangers on the road. Goal of this section: elevate the sense of exposure and vulnerability by combining a small power issue with unexplained activity outside, making the diner feel less safe. Summary: on a stormy night, the diner is nearly empty except for the narrator, the cook, and one trucker at the counter. The strange man returns and sits at the same window table, again refusing to order. The wind presses against the glass and lights occasionally flicker. Suddenly, during a short blackout, the narrator hears the bell ring at least twice, but in the dim emergency lighting, no new customers are visible. When power returns, the man at the window is still there, more tense than before, staring directly at a dark shape in the lot that might be a car with its lights off. The trucker comments that he saw someone walking along the highway earlier, but no one seems to be there now. The narrator feels exposed, as if the diner's big windows are being watched from the dark outside. Flow and connection. This section builds on the earlier mystery by putting the man's behavior in a more threatening context. It connects the strange note to a real sense of being on the edge of some kind of trouble outside. Audience focus. People who have worked alone with big glass windows facing dark lots. Anyone who fears being watched without knowing by whom. Goal of this section: deepen the fear of what might be outside without confirming their identity or intent, increasing the feeling of being surrounded by unseen danger. Summary: later that same week, during another slow night, the narrator looks up from wiping tables and sees two figures standing at the far end of the parking lot, just beyond the reach of the lights. They appear to be facing the diner, but not moving. The window man is there again, watching them intensely, his hands clenched around his coffee cup the first time he's actually ordered something. Each time the narrator looks away and back, the figures seem slightly closer, though they never see them walking. The cook dismisses it as tired eyes and reflections, but when the narrator checks the security monitor, the camera feed for the lot glitches. The man at the window quietly tells the narrator that he's seen them follow people home and that they shouldn't leave alone when the shift ends. Flow and connection. This section ties the mysterious outside presence to a possible threat to the staff themselves. It keeps the story grounded by never fully showing who the figures are, while preparing the listener for a more direct confrontation. Audience focus. Anyone who has had to walk to their car alone at night after work, especially in quiet lots or small towns. Goal of this section: move the main tension from inside the diner out into the open parking lot, putting the narrator in a position many listeners have experienced, but with a heightened sense of risk. Summary: one early morning around closing time, the diner finally empties out except for the narrator and the cook. The strange man finishes his coffee, thanks the narrator for their patience, and insists on walking them to their car. The narrator feels awkward and unsure if that's safer or more dangerous, but agrees when they see that the parking lot lights are dimmer than usual and one entire corner is out. As they approach the narrator's car, footsteps scrape from somewhere behind another vehicle, and the man quietly tells them to get in, lock the doors, and drive straight home without stopping. The narrator thinks they see a shape rise briefly behind a pickup truck and hears a soft tap on the back window as they pull away. They glance back to see the man standing under the failing lights, turned toward the dark corner of the lot. Flow and connection. This section takes the danger hinted at outside and presses it up close to the narrator's everyday routine, leaving them unsure whether the man is a threat or a shield. It leads naturally into their later decision about staying at the diner and what they believe really happened. Audience focus, service workers, people who have quit jobs for safety reasons, and listeners who appreciate reflective closure with a lingering chill. Goal of this section: wrap up the diner story with emotional realism, showing how the narrator's sense of safety changed and how they never fully understood the window man's role. The aim is to leave the listener imagining their own late night diners in a different light. Summary: in the days that follow, the narrator hears rumors among coworkers about people sitting in their cars too long in the lot, engines off, and about someone complaining that they felt watched while parked outside. The strange man stops coming in altogether. The narrator grows more uneasy, and small events like seeing someone standing beside the road on their drive home start to feel connected, whether or not they truly are. Eventually, after one especially unsettling night where they swear they see a figure in the reflection behind them while cleaning, they decide the job isn't worth the anxiety and switch to a daytime position elsewhere. Years later, whenever they pass a 24-hour diner with big windows facing a dark lot, they think of the man who waited so they didn't come inside and wonder what, exactly, he was keeping out. Flow and connection. This closing section mirrors the emotional shape of the warehouse story, but with a different setting and character. It helps the listener see a pattern. Late night shifts often hide strange, half-seen dangers, and sometimes the scariest thing is not knowing who was truly on your side.